Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a new series because you wanted it, or you've been asking me about it, or I've thought about it. You asked, aren't there any new reference recordings for major works? What would they be? Well, obviously, if there are going to be new reference recordings, discerning what they are is going to be a matter of some speculation. It's going to be based largely on me, on my view of how great something is, and also what I've seen said about it, because I'm always reading reviews and things and comments and all that stuff to try and see if some sort of consensus is forming, because the idea of a consensus fascinates me, because I'm really a very disturbed person when it comes to musical criticism. I find moral relativism to be absolutely abhorrent, and subjectivity to be disgraceful. And I'm always trying to focus on facts and objective reality and objective quality when it comes to musical performance, and objective standards when it comes to taste. Oh yeah, it's hopeless. I'm doomed. I know I'm doomed. But it's the effort that matters, I think. And the idea that somewhere out there in the nebulosity that is classical music listening, there is actually a standard of something. Anyway, so I'm going to come up periodically. This is going to be an occasional series. You've noticed I've been jamming in the reference recordings because I really want to get a critical mass of major stuff in that playlist. Relatively rapidly. So we'll be doing a lot of those, and you seem to enjoy them, so I think that's okay. This is going to be a little bit less frequent because it's harder to discern what the new reference recordings are. But the new reference recordings are always going to be, or will mostly be, I always say always, but you can't ever say always in the world of classical music, but mostly works that we've already discussed. And I've talked about the reference recordings. So today, I want to talk about the Verdi Requiem, which we just did recently. And the reference recording was, of course, the Giulini recording, which is absolutely marvelous. But it had some issues. It has some sonic issues, particularly tape saturation and whatnot, even though the saturation kind of sounds exciting. But it's a wonderful performance that has held up fabulously well, especially since Giulini's remake for DG wasn't anywhere near as good. So it wasn't bad, but it wasn't anywhere near as good. So what is the new reference for the Verdi Requiem? Well, my guess is that it will turn out to be, if it's available. I mean, so many contingent circumstances. It has to be available. There has to be time for it to soak in. But if it stays available, and if the time for it to soak in happens and it soaks, it will be this one. Riccardo, Muti, and the chorus and orchestra of the Bavarian Radio. This was Muti's 80th birthday concert. It's funny to choose a requiem for your 80th birthday. Kind of interesting choice, isn't it? Really festive. And the soloists. You've got Jesse Norman, Agnes Baltsa, Jose Carreras, and Genij Nesterenko. Yes, Genij. It's German. Yes, Yevgeny Nesterenko. I know, but I just couldn't resist. I love the spelling. Genij Nesterenko. So anyway, bass. Fabulous soloists, not a weak link in the crowd. They're all in great shape. And Jesse Norman particularly was not a Verdi Requiem person normally, is marvelous. She was in her prime in 1981. It's just tremendous. Then you've got Muti. Now, Muti has been, for the past several decades, the Verdi Requiem guy. He has recorded it at least 4 times, which is completely insane, during the heyday of record nuttiness. First, he was supposed to be the replacement for Giulini, the more modern sounding version, because in the 70s, he remade it with the Philharmonia, with the Philharmonia, which was Giulini's orchestra, with a fabulous cast, also led by Renato Scotto, and I think wasn't Genij in here as well, Nesterenko in that. Anyway, So it's a really exciting performance. It was also sort of had some iffy sonics, which they seem to have fixed a little bit over the years. Maybe not, but it sounds better to me now, at least on iPods or whatever they are, which I was listening to it the other day. But that was thrilling. It was a thrilling, exciting, visceral, physical performance by the guy who had become the Verdi conductor. He really was. He still is. So that says a lot. That's his repertoire. And he's, seen as the logical successor to Toscanini and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But, it was wonderful. Then he did a live remake at La Scala, which sucked. It was horrible. It was badly recorded. It was woody and terrible. The performance, it was a bad day for all concerned. And there things stood. So, there was no new reference recording in the Verdi Requiem. Then, of course, a lot of new ones came out, and there was the new Papano, which is marvelous. And I know one of you guys said it sucked and it's horrible, and you screamed and raved and drooled, and I just get over it. It's wonderful. So, there was that. But in the meantime, there was Muti. He did a Chicago recording, which was in every way excellent, a little bit more relaxed, to the good, frankly, from his first one. It had a little bit more flexibility and all that stuff. However, who was the soprano? Was it Deborah Pulaski? Or no, it was, it's what's her name? I forget what her name is. I don't know. Anyway, she wasn't such great voice. Daniela Desi, I think that's who it was. And it had a soprano issue. And the thing about the Verdi Requiem is that, it's not just a question of the conductor. You've got to have wonderful soloists, because great soloists have recorded it before. So you want to have the best soloists. There was the Schulte one sitting out there with Sutherland, Tebaldi, what am I saying? Sutherland, Horn, and Gyarov. It's just, there are so many fantastic versions with fantastic soloists. So those matter. So here, meanwhile, this thing was sitting in the can in Bavarian radio from 1981. It hadn't been released, although it was issued by, look at this, it must have been licensed by Riccardo Muti Music. It may be he licensed it, or he owns this or something, so maybe it'll have a chance of existing for a while, or you'll be able to get it forever from Riccardo Muti Music. It's very interesting, isn't it, what people are doing now? The modern commercialization of classical music, it's all changing. It's getting very interesting. Anyway, so this popped out. This popped out a few months ago. It's only been out for a little while. And Bob Levine, who does reviews for ClassicsToday.com, heard this and had an absolute musical orgasm, and maybe some other kinds as well. I have no idea. It is that good. It has all of the tension and excitement of Muti's first one. It has a bit of the flexibility of the second one, and it has a dream cast of soloists. So you've got the Verdi conductor of our time, who has always had a fabulous conception of the work, fiery, dramatic, beautiful, lyrical, transcendental, spiritual, all the good stuff. And then you've got the unbeatable cast and a wonderful orchestra with a fabulous chorus. And wow, and it's very, very well recorded. It was recorded live for a very quiet audience, in absolutely splendiferous sound. The performance lasts 84 minutes, basically, in a few seconds. And it's a knockout. It really is. So the quality, musical quality alone, it deserves to be a reference recording. Will there be a consensus that coalesces around this? That's the question, isn't it? But I'm throwing it out there so that we can just keep it in the backs of our minds as the years and decades drone on. And we'll see, if there is a ongoing Verdi Requiem sweepstakes, and if there is, where this settles. I'm very curious to know, and I'm sure you will be too. So that's my pick. That's my pick, and we'll see what happens. Keep on listening, friends. You've taken to this series, and I'm so, these reference recordings idea, the concept, and I'm thrilled to talk about it because it gives me an opportunity to blather on about all of the stuff I've seen and read and picked up and learned and heard over the past 50 years or so. And so that makes it all the more rewarding for me as well. And you're the best for sticking with it. So take care, and we'll be back with more new reference recordings when the situation warrants. Bye-bye.